No me des sorpresas.
Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, total world victory of Hare Krishna. My name is Sitapati Das, and this is Bhagavad-gita 132 to 35. Today I'm accompanied by my dear wife, Dana. Thank you. Okay, if you like this, if you find some value from this, please share it with a friend, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's go. Bhagavad-gita, Song of God, Chapter 1, Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna Vishad Yoga. Text number 32 to 35. Kim no rājyena govinda, kim bhogair jīvitena va, yeṣām arthe kāṅkṣitaṁ no, rājyaṁ bhogaḥ sukhāni ca, tathaiva vasthitā yuddhe, prāṇāṁs tyaktvā dhanāni ca, ācāryāḥ pitaraḥ putrās, tathaiva ca pitāmahāḥ, mātulāḥ śvaśurāḥ pautrāḥ, śyālāḥ sambandhinas tathā, etān no hantum iccāmi, gnātopi madhusūdana, api trailokya-rājyasya, heto kim nu mahī-kṛte, nihatya dhartarashtrana, kāprite janardana. Word for word, aka synonyms. Kim,
What use
naha,
to us
rājyena,
is the kingdom.
govinda,
O Krishna,
kim,
what
bhogair,
enjoyment,
jīvitena,
living,
va,
either
yeṣām,
or whom,
arthe,
for the sake,
kāṅkṣitaṁ,
is desired
naha,
by us,
rājyaṁ,
kingdom,
bhogaḥ,
material enjoyment,
sukhāni,
all happiness,
cha,
also,
te,
all of them,
ime,
this,
vasthitā,
situated
yuddhe,
on this battlefield,
prāṇāṁs,
lives,
tyaktvā,
giving up,
dhanāni,
riches,
cha,
also,
ācāryāḥ,
teachers,
pitaraḥ,
fathers,
putrās,
sons,
tathā,
as well as,
eva,
certainly,
cha,
also,
pitāmahāḥ,
grandfathers,
mātulāḥ,
maternal uncles,
śvaśurāḥ,
fathers-in-law,
pautrāḥ,
grandsons,
śyālāḥ,
brothers-in-law,
sambandhinas,
relatives,
tathā,
as well as,
etān,
all this,
na,
never, to
hantum,
kill,
iccāmi,
do I wish,
gnātah,
being killed,
api,
even,
madhusūdana,
O killer of the demon Madhu, Krishna,
api,
even if,
trailokya,
of the three worlds, for
rājyasya,
the kingdom,
hetoho,
in exchange,
kim nu,
what to speak of,
mahī-kṛte,
for the sake of the earth,
nihatya,
by killing
dhartarashtran,
the sons of the Dhritarashtra,
naha,
our,
ka,
what,
pritihi,
pleasure,
syat,
will there be, O
jarnadana.
maintainer of all living entities.
Okay, you want to do translation?
For sure.
Yeah.
O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all of those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, father-in-laws, grandsons, brother-in-laws, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though we might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will be derived from killing the sons of the Dhritarashtra?
Purport. By His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Arjuna has addressed Lord Krishna as Govinda because Krishna is the object of all pleasures for cows and the senses. By using this significant word, Arjuna indicates that Krishna should understand what will satisfy Arjuna's senses. But Govinda is not meant for satisfying our senses. If we try to satisfy the senses of Govinda, however, then automatically our own senses are satisfied. Materially, everyone wants to satisfy his senses, and he wants God to be the order supplier for such satisfaction. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve, but not to the extent that they may covet. But when one takes the opposite way, namely, when one tries to satisfy the senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, then by the grace of Govinda, all desires of the living entity are satisfied. Arjuna's deep affection for community and family members is exhibited here partly due to his natural compassion for them. He is therefore not prepared to fight. Everyone wants to show his opulence to friends and relatives, but Arjuna fears that all his relatives and friends will be killed on the battlefield, and he will be unable to share his opulence after victory. This is a typical calculation of material life. The transcendental life, however, is different. Since a devotee wants to satisfy the desires of the Lord, he can, Lord willing, accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord, and if the Lord is not willing, he should not accept a farthing. Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives, and if there were any need to kill them, he desired that Krishna kill them personally. At this point, he did not know that Krishna had already killed them before their coming into the battlefield, and that he was only to become an instrument for Krishna. This fact is disclosed in following chapters. As a natural devotee of the Lord, Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers, but it was the Lord's plan that they should all be killed. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. Kim no rājyena govinda, kim bhogair jīvitena va, yeṣām arthe kāṅkṣitaṁ no rājyaṁ bhoga sukhāni ca, ta ime vasthitā yuddhe prāṇāṁs tyaktvā dhanāni ca, ācāryāḥ pitaraḥ putrās tathaiva ca pitāmahāḥ, mātulāḥ śvaśurāḥ pautrāḥ śyālāḥ sambandhinas tathā, etān hantum iccāmi gnātopi madhusūdana, api trailokya-rājyasya heto kim nu mahī-kṛte, nihatya dhartarashtrana ka-priti syaj janardana. O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusūdana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? Om jnana-timirandasya jnananjana-shalakaya chakshur unmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. We did this verse yesterday in Spanish. Something different for today, because yesterday we talked... Well, one thing I see here, do you know that what a farthing is? It says that since a devotee wants to satisfy the desires of the Lord, he can, Lord willing, accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord. And if the Lord is not willing, he should not accept a farthing. I can't remember where I was, but I was talking with some devotee, and they had no idea what a farthing was. Yeah. It might have been Leonard. He's from Germany, you know. A farthing is a coin that's worth less than a cent.
Oh wow!
Basically, it's like saying a cent, but it's an old British pre-metric coin.
Right.
Yeah. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. So, what about devotees who posted why getting vaccinated against COVID-19 was the right decision for me, to encourage and induce devotees to take the injections, and if it turns out that the injections do harm? The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Could you argue that is it the case that the devotees who did those testimonials, if they lead to doing harm to the devotees, do they fall into this category?
For sure it does. Because
Miscreants.
it's very clear, like, why are you participating to harm these people? I mean, these devotees. Like by recommending something that you're not 100% sure yourself, if it's efficient or it's safe, you have no say about this.
Of course, they would say that they did it out of good intentions, and that they did it out of good intentions, and based on. I mean, even if I say it, it's the philosophical deviation is based on trust in these conditioned living entities who have the tendency to be illusioned, to make mistakes, and a cheating propensity, and they're known fraudulent criminals. And anyway, as I said at the time, it's not even possible to know that these things are safe and effective. So any claim that they are is a complete marketing claim and is dishonest to start with. Even from a material perspective, they should have known better. And if they're leaders, they'll be held to account.
Yeah, I think this is all, the things that are coming to be exposed, because it has to happen something for these people that are now participating in that to be exposed. And this is the situation where it's happening, And not only this vaccination or jabbing that they call it, also the children that have been suffering, in the gurukuls, these children that have been mistreated, raped, and sodomized. All of this is all about time. And Krishna himself is time. So sooner or later things will fall into its place. And there is no doubt about it, And Krishna knows our intentions. Now, as people, we can say, oh, my intentions were good. Or seriously, Krishna knows everything. Sooner or later, the gravity of the truth will come out.
Interesting, how people get caught up in a situation like that. But in the Bhagavatam, Prahlāda Nandaswami would give the example of the shaman Tucker jewel, which was a conspiracy, and that Akrura got caught up in that through bad association. And then in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, and Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe, chapter 4, text 14, Narad says how he and the two greatest Gandharvas were singing the praises of Hiranyakashipu. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that even great devotees can be subverted and bewildered by the asuras, which seems to be, in this case, what has happened. And on the battlefield of Kurukshetra itself, where this conversation is taking place, you have the example of Bhishma Dev, who is one of the 12 Mahajans. He's one of the 12 great personalities who exemplify and preach the principles of devotional service. He's one of the 12 Mahajans, and he himself is on the other side with Duryodhana, where this part that we're riffing on here, where it's talking about, the devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. In this case, Srila Prabhupada is talking about Arjuna, who is the devotee who has been wrong done by. And Bhishma Dev is one of the miscreants who's done wrong by him, and the Lord is determined to kill the miscreant. He's determined to kill Bhishma Dev, one of the 12 Mahajans. And Bhishma Dev will indeed die on this battlefield at the conclusion of the battle. So, draw your own conclusions from that. But at the very beginning in 2021, I went on Namras's podcast and said, it's a philosophical deviation. It's a mistake to do this. It was a mistake to do that. To go outside, and the clear error is revealed in, well, it was good, well-intentioned, and we did it based on the best information that we had at the time, given that we placed our shraddha, or our faith, in asuras, conditioned living entities, who have the tendency to fall into illusion, to be bewildered, to commit errors,
to cheat.
and to cheat. And then they redirected the faith of the devotees away from the Shastra and the Sankhya of the Shastra and towards that, to the point where they're trolling with why I decided getting vaccinated against COVID-19 was the right decision for me. And the Acharya that they appealed to was Elvis Presley. Srila Prabhupada, when asked, would say, everyone agrees that Krishna is God. Vyas, Devala, Asita, all the great authorities agree. And here's this gentleman posting this thing saying all the great authorities agree that getting vaccinated is good. Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, whatever. I was just like, dude, they're straight, the demons are straight up trolling you right now. That's what's going on here. Whether that gentleman who wrote that thing was conscious that he was a puppet, Maya's muppet in that moment or not, I don't know. But I'm left in the situation now where I'm like, some of them have to know. They just have to. Come on.
Of course you have to question yourself, right? They are well-read people. And how come you cannot critically think the situation? All of that for me was common sense. I don't need to read the scriptures back and forth. You just need to observe the sequence of the situations, like, wait a minute, this is not right.
Yeah.
And make your decisions about, your life, your future, your health. Because nobody else is going to do it. You have to take responsibility for everything that you do, the choices that you make, the decisions that you take. It is on you. Nobody else can do it for you.
That
you may have some, of course, like some reference to go to or people you trust. Yet you have to make that decision.
Yeah, that a lot, not a lot, but people had to go against an intense psychological warfare campaign and a lot of social pressure mixed with the fear of death, right?
Right, yeah.
Which we see in this first chapter of Bhagavad-gita, the effect that has on the psychology of the human being, placing exactly the same situation that Arjuna's in, your fear of your own death and the death of your family and friends. That's what they created for people, the first chapter of the Gita.
Yeah, yeah.
What I tried to create in Namras's podcast and to chalk out was that aside from, like thinking your way through common sense and, detaching yourself from what was happening, it was a violation of the philosophy in several different dimensions, and Prahladananda Swami had chalked it out as well. And this is what's so unbelievable to me, is that you could see it through common sense, and it could be seen through the philosophy. And as far as the asuras were concerned, about you guys will actually be able to be heard in the background of the live class streaming on the internet. Yeah. Would you like to contribute something? Okay, we'll get Isabella and Prahlad on the next one.
Yeah.
If you want to hear Isabella and Prahlad in the Bhagavad-gita class, then leave a comment requesting it. And if we get enough comments, we'll get them on.
They're so eager. Yeah.
It's just mind-boggling to me that they philosophically deviated. That's inexcusable. That you would have to go whatever was the driving motivation for the general mass of people to be sucked into it. Okay, it's psychological warfare. It's they follow the general mass. They're just going to do what everyone else does. But for leaders and so-called leaders in Krishna consciousness to philosophically deviate, if they turn around now and say, well, as it turns out that the thing was ineffective and dangerous, and, well, we couldn't know because everyone else knew, it's like, you are disqualified as a leader because you had the ability. You had not just the ability, but the duty to not go along with it, because philosophically it was a deviation to go along with it. And you would have been safe if you'd stayed within Shastra Praman, but you didn't do that. You stepped outside the circle of the Shastra. And then, unfortunately, these leaders have gotten themselves implicated in doing harm to the devotees. If it turns out, as it does seem to be turning out that way, that on the balance of things, these injections are harmful to people. And what will you do then? And the way that I phrased it in Namras's podcast in 2021 is I said, what will they do if it turns out that this injection, for example, has an impact on fertility? What will they say about that? But what happens if it turns out to be even worse than that? What will you say then? Did you do the calculation, like when you wrote your glowing testimonial to say why getting vaccinated was the right decision to me? Did corporate do a risk analysis? Like Hridayananda Das Goswami said this in a class that he gave. Arjuna interviewed him. And I asked a question, in the chat about the pharmaceuticals and stuff. And Hridayananda Das Goswami, without missing a beat, he said, the pharmaceutical companies, they build into their business model getting sued for damages. And they just pay that money out, but they make enough profit on the rest of the stuff that it's a business expense for them. Now, when you were like, we want to, go out and do this, I don't know what you were getting paid or what the upside for doing that was. There's no scriptural injunction. There's no ISKCON leader mandate to do that. So whatever was motivating you to do that, whatever benefit that you got from that, did you calculate the downside? If it turns out to be bad, do you, like Nixon, when they went to the moon, they had prepared, the moon landings were faked. But they, you can see it on YouTube. I think it's a pre-recorded thing of Nixon in case they blow up on the moon, about how he's going to announce that. So they planned for, Here's Nixon's victory speech. Yeah, we landed on the moon. And here's the one that he's going to deliver if they blow up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pre-recorded in case they needed to play it.
Right.
According to the fake story and everything, right? But have you written it? Did you write it at the time? How we will apologize and how we will account to the devotees if this turns out to be a very bad idea, TM. Mm-hmm. Have you done that? I don't think they have.
I think so far with this child rape and the gurukuls and abuse, nobody came forward and said, apologize for the situation. Now, will they come after this? I don't think so. I don't see people to be accountable for that. They just want to run away, escape the situation. And I think now we need kshatriyas to take them accountable, to make them accountable. Otherwise, they're just going to escape and do whatever they want. And I don't think that is the case, What is the point to be a leader is just running away from the responsibility and accountability? They're not leaders at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is not simply like ISKCON bashing thing. You got to apply this across the board.
In every institution, even in my job, they have to have some, like for myself, I have to go through different checks, police checks and report and referees and everything. They're checking my character, who I am as a person and my background in order for me to get a job to take care of other people. And how come they haven't done any of those? And how come now that the situation has been so gross that they don't even come forward and apologize? They continue their lives as nothing happened. Where is the responsibility? Where is the leadership? It's not there.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, Krishna has created the situation in the contemporary environment just as he did in this time, which, at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, it says, at a time when the earth was overburdened with the unnecessary military might of the kings. Now, in the same way, there's a house cleaning about to take place. Because, it wasn't just devotee leaders, to go back to why I decided getting vaccinated was the right idea for me. It was across society. In every institution, they put the hard word, the coercion, the inducements, the recriminations and retribution if you didn't do it, to get people to do it. Now imagine people who have taken, the jab because they had to do it to keep their job, didn't want to do it, and then experience some negative impact from that. Or it comes out that the whole thing was fraudulent, and it was like, it's not only the manufacturers and the politicians. If you got involved at any level in enforcing that, well, you're gonna experience the backlash. It's like during the Second World War, you might have just been following orders or whatever, but the people who were in camps, just as running the camp, a prison guard or whatever, they all get prosecuted as well. So everyone at every level, you wrote your testimonial, you enforced it in a business or something, had to fire people. The backlash is coming.
Yeah, definitely. It is. And there's more research out there that people can look into and read.
The Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. Yeah, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. I mean, either it's real or it's not real. So and we say it's real. So the calculus is simply this. If it turns out that these jabs do harm to devotees, then those, in quotes, leaders who were involved in coercing, cajoling, recriminating against resistance, or inducing or promoting them are implicated in that. And according to this purport, there's going to be like a hefty reaction that comes from that. It's called the vaccine blowback. That's what I'm calling it. In 2021, I said, taking a stance on vaccination as a philosophical deviation. In 2023, I'm saying that based on, my understanding of this philosophy and an analysis of the world through this lens, that the vaccine blowback is coming.
Yeah, it's all about time. And you were saying, you were giving a point, and I completely forgot what I was going to say.
Well, we were kind of talking on two parallel tracks there. I was talking about the vaccine mandates, testimonials, and then you were talking about the Gurukula situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing, like, what if you were saying if these injections weren't safe? And that is actually happening. I have a direct experience myself. Even with devotees having like heart conditions and myocarditis, and then the son of a friend of mine, immediately after he's been jabbed, he started developing some heart issues, and other people, getting many side effects to it. Pain, jerking. It's like, what kind of safe medication or injection can give you that horrible side effects?
Yeah, and what is there to say about that so that it doesn't become like a strike? Yeah, let's see how... I guess the main point is that once the media narrative shifts, like it did for asbestos, DDT, thalidomide, at some point it was a fringe kind of conspiracy theory, and then it became mainstream. So the point here is that as those kind of anecdotal stories, which you may have your own, become, the dominant psychological operation narrative, media narrative, that's when the blowback will occur. And it all is happening by Krishna's will. Everything is happening by Krishna's will. He's cleaning house. That's what this is being used for. It was an intelligence test, a common sense test, and it was a purity test for leaders in Krishna consciousness. Will you operate on the basis of the philosophy and consistent with it, or will you? They're operating on some other basis. I don't know what the material benefit was that induced them to do that. In the case of Sita and Ravana, Lakshman drew the circle around her and said, don't go outside the circle. And she went outside the circle, right?
Because there was a pretender there.
There was a pretender there, and he was inducing her.
Yeah, it was manipulating her. Therefore, as she tried to please that guy, but hey,
should have stayed in the circle.
She fall victim to that.
Yeah.
And unfortunate situation. We can only pray for these devotees that were innocent and follow this blindly.
Blind following is condemned. Bhagavad-gita 4:34. Tadvini pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshanah. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Inquire submissively from him. The self-realized souls will reveal the truth to you because they have seen it themselves. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, in this verse, both absurd inquiries and blind following are condemned. Blind following is condemned.
Yeah, you question yourself, Krishna gave you a level of intelligence. Krishna himself in the Bhagavad-gita says, read this scrutinizingly.
This is from the purport to the first verse, which says, in the Gita Mahatmya, which is the theistic science of the Bhagavad, the theistic science.
I think that was the opinion of Srila Prabhupada.
Well, it's not the opinion of Srila Prabhupada, it's from the Gita Mahatmya. It says one should read the Bhagavad-gita scrutinizingly with a person who is a devotee of Lord Krishna. Yeah, so it's in Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gita as it is in a purport. Yep, one should scrutinizingly study the Gita.
Yeah.
And that's in the very first purport. It's like, if you read any of the Gita, you've read that.
Yeah, you can't miss that. It's very clear. There's like a what do you call it? Advertencia?
Advice?
And it's an advice. It's like, read this way. It's
Scrutinizingly, yeah.
It's not saying just like, read blindly, follow blindly, just do as I said. No. Because even it was in the last verse of the Gita where he says, now I explain everything to you.
Let's have a look at this.
Okay.
It's Bhagavad-gita 1:1, and it is the second sentence of the purport. Bhagavad-gita is the widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of the Gita. Second sentence of the first purport. There it says that one should read Bhagavad-gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. So
without personally motivated interpretations, because we are in the world of the cheaters and the cheated. So yeah, so if Krishna has given us a level of intelligence, we have to use that. We cannot just like, they will do everything for me, I will just follow. We cannot do that. Because we're gonna end up with a lot of heartbreaks, confusion. And why do we have to put ourselves through the situation? We cannot be passive.
Well, that's Arjuna, isn't it, on the battlefield? He wants Krishna to take care of it.
I know.
And he wants to be passive himself.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And, we can relate that in many ways. I want everything to be gone. Oh, God, take care of my stuff. Oh, God, give me this. Oh, God, do that for me, and so and so. But we don't want to take responsibility. We don't want to use our inner power to change our attitude.
Yeah, it's right here. Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives, and if there were any need to kill them, he desired that Krishna kill them personally. Yeah, in other words, we want to kind of sit back and let God take care of it, Which even in this, I'm not even going to repeat it, just the bogus philosophy that I heard to justify these jabs to the devotees, it was such a deviation. Such a deviation. That was the main thing, was like, it deviated them from the bases of the philosophy, to promote Elvis Presley as an authority in support.
What a mockery.
It is. It's a mockery. It was trolling. It's like Srila Prabhupada in conversation, and they say to him, well, who says that Krishna's God? He says, all the authorities agree that Krishna is God. They're like who? Devala? Asita? Vyas? They all agree. And they're all like, we've never even heard of these people. These people are not anything for us. But, Elvis Presley, George Harrison, George Harrison, I don't think, got cited as an example of someone as an authority for the jabs, but Elvis Presley was, yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
That's a philosophical deviation.
It's interesting why they put this guy, Elvis Presley, as a leader. It's like, are you guys mocking the devotees? It's a clear insult.
Yeah, it was insulting.
It's like, hey, dump, take this, because this guy did it. He's saying to do it, and do it.
This is a guy who died, like, of a drug overdose, in Vegas. He's like in a... yeah. It was a common sense test. Yeah. And Arjuna's about to undergo, he is undergoing a common sense test.
Yeah.
But in the case of Arjuna, this is even a trickier one, because common sense and what needs to be done here that's philosophically correct can be at odds. Whereas in the case of like what we went through with the COVID pandemic, it was like, that one was about what is authority? where do we listen and where do we put our faith? And they shifted people's faith to science, trust the science, Elvis Presley, the government, this narrative, rather than the Shastra.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are going to hear from Krishna speaking to Arjuna, and he's going to talk Arjuna through this complex situation in a way that if you listened to this during the pandemic, you would have come to some conclusions that would be counter to what the majority of people were thinking. But I say that history will judge, and in the near future will judge you to have made the right decisions and be on the right side of history if you stuck to the Gita.
One thing here is that Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreants, cousins and brothers.
Yeah.
As a natural devotee of the Lord, Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers. And you can see this, happening. Not many people wants to call on these, swamis, about what they've been doing. If Arjuna himself was in this situation, we can expect many people doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Because as such a great warrior and a learned person, well-known, powerful person, is in this situation, it seems like this is like an ordinary person's experience, you see?
Yeah.
But if we look at the life of Arjuna, he is such a great warrior, a learned gentleman. He himself is going through this, It is like a very clear example that we have to read the Bhagavad-gita.
Mm-hmm.
We need to try to understand and scrutinizingly read it.
Mm.
And see yourself, we have to see ourselves in that. Where are we in this?
Mm.
Because if he's going through that, it's not like a one-person life, Every single living entity, human beings, are going through that.
Yes, self-doubt.
And this is a clear example here.
Mm. Failure in motivation, self-doubt, wanting to avoid responsibility. Leave the field of battle.
Yeah.
All these kind of
put your
desires.
responsibility to God, other people. Just drop it, Just try to live your high life. Don't do anything else. Don't take responsibility. Don't be accountable for anything that you do. Just leave it for somebody else to fix it.
Mm.
You see that mentality? We can see in many living entities, human beings. We can see that, We've been, because we don't have strong leaders that are such a great examples, I can see myself in that too. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute, when I read this, it's like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I see myself in this,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be accountable for this. I don't want to be responsible for this. Oh, God, do this, Why don't you just do this? And then I start questioning, does God exist? Where is God if he exists,
Mm.
And, it's a great teaching.
Yeah. Vision leaks over time. That's why it's important to read the Bhagavad-gita and meditate on it daily. Yeah, and then in terms of leadership, so just a plug for our new podcast starting tomorrow, 10 a.m. Sunday. So Sunday, 10 a.m. So Sunday, tomorrow, 7:30 a.m.
And
you have the Param-vijayate Bhagavad-gita class by Muchakunda. And then at 10 a.m., we're going to be doing our new podcast, which is about Kshatriya Dharma and Grihastha Dharma. And our first guest that we're going to have on tomorrow is Jivan Mukta Prabhu. He joined ISKCON in 1979, and he's got 7 children. So he's definitely an experienced Grihastha. And so we're going to have him on. And Gora Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, is going to be facilitating the conversation. So that's tomorrow at 10 a.m. New Zealand time, streaming live.
Amazing. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Param-vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Total world victory of Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.